What is up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Cologne, host of City of Wrestling Showtime. Man, there is a lot that went down in the world of professional wrestling today, and I'm going to get into that, and I'm also going to get into what transpired on WWE Monday Night Raw tonight. But before I do that, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. What's the other one? There's so many of them. Just follow me everywhere and City of Wrestling. But man, tonight's Monday Night Raw, there's a lot to talk about. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. There's some big things to talk about. But also, we're going to get into some free agent news in the world of professional wrestling and stuff like that. 2024 starting off. Man, you got WWE and what transpired here on Raw, and then you have the potential of free agents signing, whether it's New Japan, TNA Wrestling, AEW, even WWE. So you have all that kicking off what should be a very exciting, intriguing, enthusiastic, and just a fun 2024 for all wrestling fans. But man, tonight, Monday Night Raw, I got to get right into it. Give me 1 second. There we go. Got my notes. So, of course, there was this tweet that Triple H put out a few days ago. I believe it was on Saturday or Sunday. I think maybe it was on Saturday, around the same time as World's End. But he gets on Twitter and he says, I'm not confirming or denying a former world champion. Paraphrasing, I think it was WWE champion. But he's like, I'm not confirming or denying, but they will be at WWE Monday Night Raw. And of course, the speculation, just the list of people that were people on Twitter, X, and all social media platforms, they're just like, oh, it's going to be this person. Oh, it's going to be that person. Oh, it's going to be this person. And, man, social media is sometimes wonderful. Well, for the most part, it's wonderful. Then you have this crazy stuff that happens on there. But, man, earlier today, January 1st, The Rock was on ESPN's College Game Day because you got college football and everything. He's there and everything, and he's talking to the whole crew and everything. And there was a photo of him talking to one of the hosts, and right in the background, right in the middle, is Nick Khan. So right away, just a bunch of speculation. Hey, The Rock's probably showing up at San Diego. It's a couple hours away. He's going to be there, blah, 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 blah. So that just got the rumor mill going and everything. And tonight, they're like, yeah, the former world champion's going to come out. Jinder Mahal comes out. And I laughed when people were like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Why are they bringing him out? Like, yeah, he's a former world champion, but this isn't the guy that we were expecting. And for me, right away, I was like, all right, this is setting up for the real person that they want to, that Triple H was talking about, to come out, beat up Jinder Mahal. The trope and everything. I mean, it's pretty standard in WWE. So he's talking and he's just running down America and this. And right away, I'm like, oh, Lord, not another foreign gimmick of USA, everyone else, yay, that whole thing, because that's a trope that's been done to death. I mean, going back to the late 80s, like that's when like all those gimmicks just really kind of like died out, because it was just like everyone, there's a lot of gimmicks that were doing it in the 80s, which at that time it fit, but afterwards it just didn't. So it was just like, for me, it was just like, oh man, I'm like, Jinder Mahal's a great talent. I'm like, why did you have him go in this route? It's like, no. I'm like, okay, he's coming out. And for me, right away, I'm like, okay, I seen The Rock with Nick Khan. I'm like, that's a dead giveaway. He's showing up. And if you don't know the history between Nick Khan and The Rock, Nick Khan's sister and The Rock, they were childhood friends, and so they go back way back. So it's right away, I'm like, he's going to be there. And sure enough, music hits, The Rock comes out. He just starts running down Jinder Mahal. It's typical Rock trope and everything. And for me, I'm a huge Rock fan, but today it was just like I want to say halfway through it, I was just like, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, I love you, Rock, but it's like kind of doing the same. Like you're kind of going into like this trope that we're kind of familiar with. It's like this ain't the Rock, and right. I mean, after that, that's when things started taking off, and him and Jinder, back and forth, and he knocks Jinder out and everything. And this is what made this promo go off the charts and set social media and everything on fire. He looks at the crowd, and he's like, San Diego, where would you like me to eat? Would you like me to eat at a booth, or would you like for me to eat at the head of the table? Mm. Or better yet, he actually said the word, should I sit at a booth or at the head of the table? Man, oh man. Right away, everyone's like, oh, we're getting Roman and Rock at WrestleMania. Of course, some people believe that, it's going to happen at Elimination Chamber because The Rock, mentioned it at a Make-A-Wish Foundation at one of the kids and everything. We'll see. I personally don't think they're going to have that big of a match at Elimination Chamber in Australia, and it's not a knock at Australia or that event being held in Australia. I do believe there might be a tag match or something like that at Elimination Chamber. But then again, last year they had Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber in Montreal. So anything is possible, but that's a big match that you put on WrestleMania. You put it on WrestleMania. Of course, the talk of all social media is like, is Cody ever going to finish his story? Like, do we have to wait till WrestleMania 41 or what have you, or SummerSlam? And I've mentioned it in a few reviews way back. I know it's been a while, guys, but this proves what a lot of people were saying back at WrestleMania in 2023. Cody Rhodes should have defeated Roman Reigns at WrestleMania because if he defeats him, it sets up Cody. Everything Cody went through going into this point, him having the belt, it would have amplified everything he's done. Roman Reigns not having the world title, you still could have told the same story that has been told with the bloodline, just without the title, and you would have had a more angrier, vindictive Roman Reigns, which honestly I was anticipating. I was like, ooh, man, a very just intense, no-nonsense, relentless Roman Reigns with no titles. Ooh, that should be good. And you didn't get that. So this is going to be interesting how they pull this off. You also have CM Punk and Seth Rollins over here, which that quite possibly could be the main event for night one. Then you also have Damian Priest, who is yet to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. So it's got people talking. It's intriguing. It's interesting. Yet at the same time, it does feel like it's clustered and convoluted in a way where it's like, okay, you have Rock, you have Roman, Cody. Like, how do you do this and how do you do that? So, very interesting. Of course, when I say that, and I know I've seen it on social media and people, wrestling fans, talk about, oh, it's stupid. It's not gonna work. It's like, no, they're gonna make money. WrestleMania is gonna be sold out. You're going to have a packed crowd. You're going to get a lot of media attention, especially with this being the first WrestleMania under the Endeavor merger with UFC. So you're going to get eyeballs and everything. You're going to get talk. You're going to get all that on there. So the question is, what main event are you going to get? With The Rock mentioning that phrase, should I sit at the head of the table? You have to do Roman Rock at WrestleMania. I don't know how Cody fits in there. Maybe, just maybe, you might have Cody versus Roman with The Rock as special referee. That could be something that happens just to build it. But again, it still doesn't satisfy the teases that we've had with Roman versus Rock in the past couple of years. That everyone's like, we want to see Roman Rock at WrestleMania. Um, this is going to be a wild year in professional wrestling, but um, that that line by The Rock has got people talking. It's going to keep getting people talking till this Friday, which Roman Reigns will be on SmackDown. So you know he's going to have a rebuttal of some sorts to The Rock's phrase and Paul Heyman. So that's just going to add more to it. So honestly, great job by WWE, Triple H, Nick Khan, those guys of placing this on tonight's Monday Night Raw because this is going to get a lot of people talking till WrestleMania. Like that's you're going to be talking till WrestleMania, Rock, Roman, Cody, that whole thing. But it's going to be interesting. When he said that phrase, my eyes just went like, oh, so we're going there. Nice. So this is going to be fun. It's got people talking. I know there's going to be a section of wrestling fans that are just, unfortunately, are going to be negative and somewhat toxic. My advice for those of you who've been following City of Wrestling for a long time, just block them. Like, don't even go into that because that's just unnecessary. This should be really fun. Rock, Roman, that's a possibility after tonight. Then I'm going to get into other wrestling news at the end of this episode of Showtime. But man, this is exciting. This is fun. Mind you, this is the first wrestling show of 2024. We got NXT tomorrow. Then you have Dynamite, which I'm going to get into that. Then you're going to have Impact Wrestling, or now in 2024 it's going to be TNA Wrestling. Then you're going to have Rampage and SmackDown. Then you're going to have Collision. And then, of course, you got TNA Hearts of Kill coming up. So, man, there's just a lot of cool things happening in professional wrestling right now. But, man, what a great way for wrestling fans to start off with 2024. Rock, Roman, strong possibility of being at WrestleMania. Or let me phrase that. A strong possibility of that match happening in 2024. Of course, what else on Raw? Seth Rollins, he retains the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. This was a pretty decent match. And honestly, most of the matches on Monday Night Raw were pretty good. Except for, hopefully Vinci from Imperium. Hopefully he's doing well. They got injured apparently during his match with Ludwig Kaiser against Jey Uso and Kofi Kingston. Man, that spot looked real rough, man. It was like, ooh, man. I haven't seen any reports as far as, his conditioner thing. He did send out a tweet. So hopefully it's nothing serious or anything major. Him and Kaiser, I love those. That tag team. They are really cool. I love their work and everything. So hopefully it's nothing major or anything like that. But yes, Seth Rollins retains the World Heavyweight Championship in a really good match between him and Drew McIntyre. The ending I thought was a little convoluted because you had Drew and Seth, they were going back and forth, and then Drew hit the Claymore, and he was overly aggressive with the pin to the point where he covered Seth, but like his foot was on the rope, and the ref count 1, 2, and he noticed it. He's like, "Hey, I can't, no." And then after that, you had Damian Priest coming in. He's like, I'm going to cash into the ref outside. You see Drew McIntyre. That was actually shot very well because you saw Drew all the way at the end. He's just coming down the ringside and just bam, kicks Damian Priest. Then he suplexes Dominic Mysterio. Seth Rollins comes in. He reverses, stomps him 1, 2, 3. He gets it. So Damian Priest doesn't cash in, and Drew McIntyre overly aggressive in his pin of Seth Rollins. And kudos to Wade Barrett. He actually mentioned it on commentary. He's like, Drew McIntyre has nobody to blame but himself. He overly he was overly aggressive in the pin, which the ref can't count 1, 2, 3 because the foot's on the rope, so he can't do that. But that was a decent match to finish or to conclude Monday Night Raw. The other thing that was really cool about Monday Night Raw tonight was the Nia Jax Becky Lynch match that kicked off the show. Man, that was a fun match, man. That was a really good match. Nia Jax, man, shout out to her. She's had some really solid matches since she's returned to WWE, and this match with her and Becky Lynch, I could see this being a trilogy of some sorts. I could see there being another match, possibly at Royal Rumble, and then another match at Elimination Chamber. Um, yeah, usually like WWE, especially right now, a lot of things as far as WrestleMania are somewhat up in the air. That's how it was when Vince was in control of creative control. So maybe a little bit different with Triple H. He might have a few matches mapped out for WrestleMania heading into uh, the grandest stage of them all. So I'm really interested to see how they do that. But man, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, that was an aggressive match. That was a physical match. There was a point where Nia Jax did a Samoan drop off the top rope, which I was like cringing because I'm like, oh no, not Becky Lynch's ribs. No, no, no. But man, this was a match, man. And I know Nia Jax, she gets a lot of criticism and stuff like that, and a lot of it's overkill. Like, okay, haha, oh, she's this. Like, no, she's been killing it since she's returned to WWE, and tonight was no exception. She got the pin, and of course, doing the man. I'm glad they gave her the Yokozuna Banzai drop. Man, that fits her so well, man. Oh man, I loved it. I love that move when Yokozuna used to do it because it's like you're not kicking out of that move. Like no, all that weight at that speed and that short of a distance coming down on somebody's chest, that's gonna knock the wind out of you. That's just logical. Like that's gonna knock the wind out of you. She did that move to Becky Lynch to get the pin, and Becky Lynch started bleeding from the mouth. It's like, whoa, that's intense. Of course, a few people on Twitter said you've seen like the ref kind of hand her blood cat. I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't see it, but that's what a lot of people were speculating on Twitter. That all the ref blood caps will put that whole thing. But that was a really cool match. I would recommend you guys go check that match out. The crowd was into it, man. To kick off Raw, of course, there was the anticipation of, who's the former champion, possible surprises. Is Damian Priest going to cash in the Money in the Bank, which he attempted to do. So you had all that in the beginning, and then the crowd was into it. They were hot in San Diego. They loved this match. Then, oh my God, I did not expect this. I did not anticipate this, but this was very entertaining. You had The Miz. He had Miz TV, and he's like, I want to bring out Judgment Day. He brings out Judgment Day. Excuse me. And R-Truth comes out with the Judgment Day shirt and, the R-Truth, the tape with the R-Truth lettering on it and everything. So him and Miz, they're going back and forth. And the Miz, right away, I was like, it clicked him. I was like, yo, this is awesome Truth from back in the day when they fought The Rock and Cena at Survivor Series 2011. Like, yo, I love that tag team. They were hilarious. And, man, kudos to Miz, man. This was a really cool segment before JD and Dominic came. And the Miz looks at R-Truth and he's like, you been talking to little Jimmy? And R-Truth's like, where's little Jimmy? Like, oh my God, that was hilarious, man. But JD and Dom, they come out and they had this match, and this was funny, man. This was freaking hilarious. They go back and forth. Let me see who actually won that match. Give me 1 second, guys. But it was a funny match. I enjoyed it. Yeah, the Miz and R-Truth, they won the match. But man, it one of the funniest parts of the match was the again, R-Truth thinks he's a part of Judgment Day because if you remember a couple weeks back, there was a stipulation that they agreed. Damian Priest agreed to. Was like, hey, if R-Truth beats um, JD McDonough, JD McDonough's out of Judgment Day. So R-Truth is still under the assumption that that applies, and he's part of Judgment Day, and he starts the match on the opposite side of Judgment Day where Miz can tag him, and then during the match he goes to the other side and he looks at JD McDonough. He's like, "You're not a part of Judgment Day. You're not a part of Judgment Day. I'm a part of Judgment Day." So JD McDonough, he has the Miz, you know, hold him. He's like, "All right, since you're a part of Judgment Day, hit him." And the Miz, or not the Miz, R-Truth, he hits JD McDonough. That's what leads to the pin and everything. But that was funny, man. I liked it. It's little things like that where, um, of course, a lot of people aren't fans of Miz TV because it's been done to death so much, and a lot of the Miz TVs were just time fillers. There wasn't a lot of substance to a lot of the Miz TVs that we've seen in the past few years. But this led to something really cool. R-Truth, the Miz, they were former tag team partners. It was hilarious. It was entertaining when they were partners back, man, 12 years ago. Wow, time flies. And see them now, it's like, oh man, this is really cool. It's fun, and just the light humor in between them was, man, it's so cool. But that was really fun. But yeah, Monday Night Raw. This was really good. It was solid. It was good. A lot of good things happened. The women's matches were really good. Ivy Nile versus Rhea Ripley. That was a solid match. Man, I really wish and hope that we see more of Ivy Nile on the women's side of Raw because, man, that was a solid match between her and Rhea Ripley. Of course, Rhea Ripley won. The Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark versus Natalya Tegan Nox match. It was okay for me. Nothing too like, oh my god, this is just why is this here? Like it was none of that. They're really building Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler some like, yeah, they're no nonsense. Like they're a legitimate threat for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. But man, this was a really fun episode of Monday Night Raw. Again, The Rock coming out, confronting Jinder Mahal, beat him up, and then that last line, should I sit at the booth or should I sit at the head of the table, man? That's the highlight of Monday Night Raw tonight because that one line has set up talk till WrestleMania. That one line set up talk for WrestleMania, and it's got people hooked on WrestleMania. Really good booking. Kudos to Triple H, Nick Khan, The Rock, those guys involved to setting up that one phrase, setting up for WrestleMania, man. That's amazing, man. Look forward to WrestleMania. Hopefully, there isn't anything that's like, really, you went that route, like, I don't know. We're getting Rock and Roman this year, and hopefully Cody finishes his story. So hopefully that happens. But in other wrestling news today, and it was dropped this morning, Elias, he is now Elijah, and he put out a video. Of course, he's a free agent. His contract was one of the many that, or they were actually he was part of the releases back. Excuse me. And when was that? September, October is when those releases happened. So he was a part of that group. And of course, he's a free agent now. But man, this video, it was kind of similar to something that I believe there was a video he did before he was just off TV where he was like going through this rebirth where he was burying Elijah and stuff like that. So it's kind of like he finished that story that they never finished in WWE before he got released. So goes in there, the video, he goes into this open grave, and he crawls back out, and it's fire and everything. It's almost like a resurrection. Um, so I mean, we'll see where he goes. I know that Wrestling Revolver, which is run by Sami Callihan, they posted out a graphic that he's going to be at their February 17th event. What a show. So he's going to be there. I believe that's his first appearance that's been advertised so far. That should be really cool and interesting in how he does on the independents and, the character. He's going to have the guitar. I mean, he had that in the video. So that's something to keep an eye on. So is he going to show up in Impact Wrestling? Is he going to show up in AEW? Is he going to show up in NWA? Is he going to show up in MLW? We don't know. We got to wait and see. Is he going to show up in New Japan Strong? They do have that event in February, Battle in the Valley. Is he going to show up there? That's going to be interesting. And just, I'm enjoying wrestling right now from watching Raw and then a lot of the news of, this wrestler might go here, this wrestler might go there. This is fun for me. And of course, the card and everything of Dynamite, TNA, SmackDown, of course, Royal Rumble month and everything. So I'm looking forward to it. But then in other news, man, and this is where you got The Rock and teasing a match with Roman Reigns over here. And then you have reports of, one, Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer speculated that Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo are reportedly expected to join AEW soon. Fightful Select, Sean Rossat reports that Mercedes Moné has been in talks with AEW, and those within the industry expect for that to be her likely landing spot. I'm looking at my notes and everything. That's interesting. That's interesting news, and it's big news because if AEW is able to land Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo, that is definitely an indicator that AEW is going to put a lot of emphasis in their women's division. Not just, we're going to, no, it's going to be a focus and everything. And I think it's the right time to do that. I know many people, and it's right, man, it's rightfully, and I understand the perspective and point of view that people were coming from. Man, it should have been done a long time ago. I understand that. But thankfully, the time is right now. Tony Khan has done a really good job of booking the Ring of Honor women's division. Of course, people are like, well, why is he booking that good in the Ring of Honor women's division, but not, in AEW? And of course, you got to remember, Ring of Honor is behind a paywall, and that's cool. And AEW is on network television. So there's a lot of things that when you look at it, it's like, okay, I could kind of see, trust me, the AEW women's division, the presentation, and just the involvement and the integration of the women's division on AEW programming has improved a lot, and it should improve even more. So this is big, man. This is big. There's been a lot of chatter. Hey, is Mercedes Moné going to show up this Wednesday on Dynamite, which would be the 1-year anniversary of her debuting in New Japan Pro Wrestling last year at Wrestle Kingdom. So that's interesting. Of course, Mariah May has her first match on Dynamite. A lot of things going on. I'm really intrigued to see how that's pulled off. There's a lot of momentum from AEW coming out of World's End with Samoa Joe as the new champ. Of course, the conclusion of the Devil storyline with Adam Cole being revealed as the Devil and the Masked Men being revealed as Wardlow, Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett. So that's a lot of things there. But man, if AEW can land Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo, that's a huge get. Mind you, I want you guys to keep in mind that there's even more contracts coming up throughout this year. This is just January. You got Camille, who's still a free agent, which in one of my predictions for the 2024 predictions, go watch that video. I predicted that I could see her going to TNA, which that would be a really cool spot because they don't have that that monster that's just like, ooh, just intimidating. Honestly, they haven't had that type of monster since Awesome Kong. So I mean, I could see her going there. You got Savannah Evans, which she's coming up there. So I do see that. But remember, you still have Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. Their contracts coming up in June. Um, of course, most people, include myself, anticipate them re-signing with WWE. But then again, it's 2024. If anything has told us in the last 2 years, never say never, and anything can happen. So we don't know what wrestlers' motivations are. So they could re-sign with WWE, or they could be like, you know what? I want to spend more time with our kid and the wrestling school. You know what? Less dates. Let me go to AEW. That could happen. Anything can happen in the world of professional wrestling. But man, Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo going to AEW possibly, man. That's some interesting stuff, man. That's intriguing. Also, keep in mind, Deonna Purrazzo has been on AEW television. She defended the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. Was it one of the main events for Dynamite against Mercedes Martinez? So she has that history and everything. So it's intriguing. Mercedes Moné, she has history with Willow Nightingale from, oh my God, New Japan. I can't remember the event, but it was the event where unfortunately Mercedes suffered her ankle injury. So you have that. That's intriguing. But man, professional wrestling in 2024 starting off in a banger, man. You got The Rock teasing a match with Roman Reigns with the line, should I sit at the head of the table? Seth Rollins, still champ. You got, the women's division and AEW possibly getting Mercedes Moné and Deonna Purrazzo there. You got Elias going on the independent scene. Of course, who can forget towards the end of after December 20th, literally that day, Mustafa Ali, his world tour that he's going on. So again, he could show up in TNA, he could show up in Dynamite or AEW, he could show up in New Japan, AAA, CM. Like, there's so many things where a lot of these wrestlers can go. That's cool. Then, how can I forget? You got Andrade Idolo, who, Tony Khan confirmed at the press conference that, he's not going to resign and, wish him well, which, hell, Andrade Idolo could possibly show up this Friday on SmackDown with the LWO. So, with Zelina Vega. So there you go, man. But this is the first day, and this is the first week of professional wrestling in 2024. And man, it's already started off wild and exciting and crazy and just a lot of talk.